Hey guys, there's this movie that exists, mainly to show disrespect to hood classics, but we choose to let it slide because the creators are one of us. It's called Refrain from Being a Threat to Down Middle while consuming your beverage in the cuts. I don't know how I feel about this movie. Except I do, it's trash. But on the other hand, it's a valuable piece of culture, so we can't just throw it away. When I first saw it, I thought it was pretty classic, but I guess now that I'm older, it's like, kind of a different story. Like 3 months ago, so many of you were asking me to go over this, but I purposely chose not to, because I didn't want to go over this, because it's kind of lame. But now I've decided to do it, because I guess some of you still want it, but more importantly, making this video has given me the opportunity to write the full name of the movie as the title, which is pretty cool I guess. So the story starts out with a fake statistic, taking shots at the man in the cut movie. Then it follows some Negro who seems to be the main character, and he starts running his mouth about the hood, but he gets put in a shirt in like 10 seconds, so never mind about that. Looks like there's a new main character. Nah, this one gets murked too. And to make matters worse, some random woman comes in whining, but has to be told by a complete stranger that it actually isn't her son. So first off, does this whole even know any of her kids to be false claiming like this? And second, look at the disrespectful way in which he treats him. So now all of a sudden because he didn't come out of your pussy, him being a pack no longer matters? Don't worry, this movie is full of this kind of nonsense, so there's no shortage of foolishness. With that waste of time out of the way, the actual main character starts talking about his life. So his mom is tired of putting up with him, cause he's a bum-ass grown man who can't put up for himself. And when opening the door, he puts some black nigga on a stretcher, cause why not? Then he goes to his father's crib, and he looks unnaturally youthful, cause niggas be getting hoes pregnant as soon as they can walk, so they can grow up with their fetuses. In fact, the father is so young, he still lives with his own mom, and he's helped with his homework like the lame he is. Then they try to rip off that scene from Men in the Cuts, where the main character gets a haircut, and his prepubescent father asks him if he's still a virgin. He immediately says yes, which as we all know, is against Negro instincts, and talks about getting sexually assaulted by another man. But when the father clears up that he was talking about women, all of a sudden his answer changes. Like why? Why did this man automatically assume that the question of virginity was by default whether he's done it with another man? And I know one of you bums in the comment section is going, "Chief, why are you tweaking so hard? It's just a comedy movie." Like, okay, I get that his dad being so young is haha funny, but him assuming virginity meant gay sex is just dumb, and a thing for no reason, but whatever. So the main character tells his dad some played out story of the time he got his tip wet, and got found out by the girl's mom, and sadly, it turned out she was into BDSM, so he had to do the dash on them. Then some guy robs an ice cream truck, and an addict offers to blow the main character for crack, but he tells him to piss off. Then he goes to his cousin's crib, where he's greeted by the aunt doing way too much, like there's the brown everywhere, and typical things associated with being a Negro. Then he meets his grandma, and she talks like a nigga cause that's the wave I guess. She starts pressing him to attack her, but he's not trying to do that, but I guess his position is pretty low, cause he ends up sending her across the room. After all this, he finally meets the cousin, and he almost gets put in the dirt by his paranoia. When the main character enters the room, the cousin goes on about some nonsense, and asks what face she'll wear with the strap. Then he gets in his feelings over the fact that his dad did the dash on him, but I don't really blame him for abandoning such a worthless family. After this, the main character and his cousin step out the house, and meet with some fake Muslim that doesn't know what he's talking about, and then meet up with a guy in a wheelchair for some reason, and it turns out the cousin's whipping out of a mail truck, cause times are that tough in the streets. Then they literally just play a scene from Men in the Cut, and show Vanilla Ice as a pack on the floor. I'm truly not sure what I saw in this movie when I was younger. So then the guys go to a kickback, and the fake Muslim is trying to shoot a shot at some Caucasian, while the cousin throws a 40 for his ally packs. Also, the main character sees a girl he has a heart on for, but the cousin tells him to chill out on her, cause the whole community ran a train. Then it cuts to some guy who thinks he's in a cell, and he gets past the blade under the cover. It was a complete waste of time to be shown this. He cuts up his food like a weirdo, but nobody seems to, get on his ass for it. Then the cousin tells the main character to stop worried by his love interest, and get a real woman, like some girl over there, who he then finesses with a pull for her number, in yet another useless scene. So the main character tries to talk to the village bathroom, and he ends up getting robbed by a fetus. And speaking of fetuses, it looks like the love interest gave birth to a whole community center, and they don't know their father either, even the Asian one. Then it cuts back to the institutionalized nigga, and he starts going on about how he doesn't care if he gets locked up, but then he exposes himself for rummaging the assholes of other men, which makes everyone look at him some type of way. So he gives a classic just kidding response to move away. I'll admit the joke was actually okay, but I'm still mad over the last 50, so I can't even enjoy it. So the main character is back, talking to the community fuck toy, and she likes him, so I guess that part of the story has a future. Then the fake Muslim gets called out by some other guy for not showing consistency and how he approaches the Euros, but he lets him know they shouldn't get back at the white man for the past 400 years, so that makes sense. After this, the main character and the cousin try to go to the store, but the main character gets hold by the institutionalized guy from earlier, because I guess despite being at the same kickback as him, he and the cousin are ops. They start threatening each other with their pulls, and it becomes a dick measuring contest, because they start really showing lethal force, until the cousin flexes a weapon of mass destruction, so it looks like he took the W. So two Negroes waste screen time by having a phone conversation despite being right next to each other, and the main characters enter the store with their own custom jingle to let the shop owners know that people of African descent are here. So the same shop owner from the Threats to Civilization movie is here with a different wife, and he sends her to get over the niggas' asses while they let a white man take what he needs without being bothered. After the Caucasian is done finessing them, the black men go to pay for what they picked out and are greeted by disrespect. After some forced dialogue, the shop owner randomly decides to repeat the thing that put him on the news in his last movie, so the cousin starts dumping shells at them while his wife issues empty demands of payment. But they both got taken out of this realm when something from the ceiling falls down on them. But it turns out it wasn't the work of the cousin, but instead of the Caucasian from earlier, who tosses his strap to the cousin so he can get processed for the packs later, because the European thrives on seeing the black man down. The grandma talks to some bums, but who cares? Then there's a scene in the church where the pastor's doing the most, trying to sort the guys he's preaching to. And to make things even more disrespectful, they stop playing a street classic during the mass, and the grandma and some other fossil have a dance battle that didn't need to happen. Then the main character and his cousin are walking with one of the homies, just discussing life and whatever it is people talk about. And they walk the friend off to college because this is his first day or something. Right as they leave, the main character talks about how it means something because he's the first from the streets to actually make it out. But when their backs are turned, he gets murked by some other white man who also hates to see a Negro win. Then the main character has some driver's license test where some guy gets some mundane instructions, but then it turns out he was trying to hit a lick and use the main character as an accomplice. Then the cousin goes to get a job and puts his lower IQ on full display. That doesn't really matter because he gets a job anyway, but it turns out he got a job as a practice pack, which is about as much as he's worth anyway, so it makes sense. Then there's a scene where the main character is with his love interest son, and it turns out he already has that burner on him, so the main character sets him straight. Then the love interest comes and recites her psychotic poem for the main character. Then there's some scene that lasts way too long, consisting of them piping. Fortunately, this is YouTube, so I have an excuse not to show you that much of any of this, but just know that it's trash. After one instance of this, the woman tells him that she's about to have another fetus, but he doesn't know about that, so she gets in her feelings because he isn't willing to bankroll her entire existence. Then he tells the cousin the unfortunate news, and he lets him know that he's planning on evacuating the streets, but the cousin tells her there's no point in that because his love interest will continue to be a public toilet wherever she goes. After this, the niggas are whipping around when they get pulled over by 12 and made to do irrelevant stunts. Then Uncle Ruckus gets in his feelings because he's the same race as the main character, so he books him. While 12 is celebrating their abuse of black men with a game, the main character gets put in a cell with a fake Muslim, but not the same one from earlier. But being there is a big enough L for him to not want to stay there any longer. Then there's some scene where the institutionalized op is recruiting some mutants to set, so he has to get jumped in with jump rope. Get it? Because you thought they were all tough looking OGs who would jump him in by physically attacking him, but instead, they did something often associated with women and children. Yeah, it was pretty worthless. After this, it cuts to the guys walking down the block when some random tries to start something with the main character over a girl that he's neither piping nor related to. Then the cousin intervenes to make sure the main character doesn't look like too much of a pussy, so he beats the brakes out of the guy who stepped up. After this, they go visit some veteran who still got treated like a hoe by his mom. When the main character tries to see what he's about, he lets him know that his life isn't important. Then the main character gets in his feelings about being in the hood, so his cousin tells him that the life of a degenerate is lit, and the guy in the wheelchair has a fantasy. Meanwhile, the ops are in the corner loading shelves because of the fate from earlier. Then the same addict from before offers to use his mouth on the cousin in exchange for something, so the cousin takes him up on it. After this waste of screen time, the ops pull up and the guys will start blasting, but nobody really gets hit until they crash their whip into the guy in the wheelchair, so they have to take him to the hospital. When they get there, they get confronted by some unhelpful nurses. After all this, the main character is in his feelings because he has to live in the cuts, so he spazzes out. Then he tells his love interest that he's actually going to take care of the upcoming fetus he has with her, along with the rest. So they go to visit one of the other kids' sperm donor, and the main character has some dumb talk with him. After that, the cousin and the fake Muslim meet up with the guy in a wheelchair, who confirms that he needs a wheelchair. At the same time, the main character talks to his father, who is now younger than him, I guess. It's about a kickback he's going to, and then he reads him a bedtime story that he gets off on. When the cousin gets to the function, they start passing around the blunt until one of them ends up inside it, but the Negroes around him don't care and just pick it up for themselves. Then there are a bunch of worthless saints, like the main character watching some woman get off one while he does nothing about it, and the cousin piping out some other hoe who's off the brunt and gets possessed. You know, the regular Unfunny Adventures. Then the main character is fishing in the sewage with his father, and he tells him he plans to leave the city with his love interest, and the father is happy to know that his son couldn't be bothered to put on a rubber, and he tells him to just be a bum and live off of welfare. It turns out the ops are still pressed about something and make plans to get the main guys out of the way. So in the next scene, the main character talks to his cousin because they're about to leave, and it's some more dumb shit. Finally, the ops pull up as the main character is getting ready to leave, and there's some shootouts where the main character does the dash and the fake Muslim gets out of the way to save a white woman because humor, but the ops get stopped when the grandma comes through blasting back while the love interest is moaning because the main character looks like a pack now, but it turns out he's not, so that's cool I guess. Then the ops mom starts doing acrobatics because she thinks he's in a new dimension, but when he finds out he's still there, she goes on his ass over funds he apparently finessed from her. Then the main character reveals that he and the love interest got married, his cousin became a comedian, the fake Muslim moved into a trailer with a European woman, the wheelchair guy became a dancer, and the grandma grandma is still useless. Overall, last week I was feeling heavy abdominal pain, and after pushing out the regular, a thick and exceptionally horrible smelling shit came out of my rectum, and it reminds me of this movie. Despite that, it still isn't the worst one I've ever seen, which is pretty lame if you think about it. It's weird how the niggas in my comments that were whining about how I talked about the guys in my Threat to Civilization video, all of a sudden have nothing to say about this movie. That goes way farther than anything I ever did, but oh well. Also, I know I could have called this a is trash video, but I didn't want to give you niggas the satisfaction. Let me know what other movies you think I should go over, and take away from this movie that some ideas should have just stayed in the drafting stage. Okay guys, make sure that when you subscribe you hit the notification button, because that lets you know whenever I make a new video, and as always, thanks for watching.